Hey everyone, in today's episode, I'll discuss the best Brisbane suburbs for investment. It's an interesting area because it's done so well over the long term, but in today's episode, I'll get into a few different points. So first of all, what makes a good suburb? Secondly, where are these predominantly located? Thirdly, the numbers behind good suburbs, and finally, the suburbs themselves and at different price points. What makes a good suburb in Brisbane? Now, really, again, like I've said in a lot of other episodes, it's strong demographics combined with consistently low supply. People that can afford more for properties can pay more for properties, and low supply means they're all fighting over the same stock with each other, which pushes prices up. Employment hubs, business demand, and the lifestyle triangle all play a part because people don't like commuting a long way to work. They don't like commuting a long way to school or lifestyle areas. They like it all being close together. In Brisbane, the distance to the CBD really plays a part, particularly the river. The river and the CBD do flow a lot of money along. Look, Brisbane, really, it's mostly within 10 k's of the CBD, also where all the good suburbs are. Tranquility actually plays a part in Brisbane because it's not the same as Sydney where you got beaches or anything like that. The tranquil nature of some of the suburbs really drives people to them. And then finally, school zones. So you have famous cases of properties selling for 10 and 20% more just next to each other in Brisbane, just having a good school zone. So it is really a part of it, especially certain school zones. So Brisbane High is a really good example of that, and some of the other, especially more, sort of say, prestigious schools as well. Look, in Brisbane, where are these predominantly located? Very simple. The inner north is definitely a location. The inner east as well. Those are definitely your two best locations for the for Brisbane investing. When I say inner north, I'm including the sort of inner city north region. So I guess you can say inner city as well. You also do have some suburbs in the inner west and inner south, but I'm telling you right now, the inner north and inner east are your best locations in Brisbane to invest in. What are the numbers behind these suburbs? Again, I've mentioned this in previous videos, so go have a look, but it's your total return. So it's your 30-year capital growth and your gross rental yield. It's added together. I generally aim for at least 12%, ideally 13 or more, which I get nearly all the time. But the reason for that is I want a higher internal rate of return, and and in that internal rate of return, you want a higher percentage of your total return to be capital growth, because rental yield over the long term would slide down, but capital growth doesn't. So your internal rate of return is significantly higher if you've got a higher percentage of capital growth as a percentage of your total return. So if you want more detail on that, go to previous videos and have a look, but that's exactly what we're looking for here. Let's get into Brisbane anyway, and I've actually got a suburb that's still sub $1 million, and that suburb is Capera, and it's in the basically northern suburbs of Brisbane. Look, it's about 14 or 15 k's north of the CBD, but Capera does have fairly good median income. It's, I mean, in an area where quite a few families live, it's quite a well-held suburb, quite good, I mean, jobs close by to it. You're not too far from the city. It's actually on a train line as well, so it's easy to get into. Surrounded by, I'd say, significantly more expensive suburbs too. But the thing about Capera as well is it's really good, is it's actually near quite a few schools that are well known. So you can just see it here and all the, local state schools and all that kind of thing. It's not too far either from Brisbane Grammar, Brisbane Girls, or St Margaret's either. They're probably about a 20 to 25 minute drive, but it's not too bad for your sort of wealthier families. And it is low density, so you don't really have a lot of units here. It's almost all detached homes. It's well located, and because of basically where it is, you don't really have any more supply because the hills make it too hard to develop on. So really good suburb if you have under $1 million in Brisbane. Look, this is almost, I think, the biggest bargain almost in the country, but for under 1.25 million in Brisbane, there's a suburb called Albion, and I mean, like, this suburb is like 4 to 5 k's north of the CBD, and it's just, I mean, such a good pocket. It is in one of the main sort of northern train lines of the CBD as well. It's only, I think, 3 stops from Central, so I think it goes Albion, basically, Bowen Hills, Fortitude Valley, Brisbane Central. So it's one of like the closest suburbs on the train line to the city, and you're still picking them up for like 1.25 million, which is just insane. You need to be a little bit careful where you buy though, because some of it does flood, and don't buy on Sandgate Road because Sandgate Road is so busy it's not even funny. But I mean, this suburb here is going to do over 9% long term, and you're getting like 4% yield still in this suburb. You get like $800 minimum a week rent, sometimes even more. and you can buy for like 1.2 million, which is just insane. And if you look where it is, it's like the cheapest suburb that close to the city. And it's amongst, the absolute premium suburbs of Brisbane. It's right next to Ascot, Hamilton and Clayfield, which are really old money suburbs. To give everyone an idea, it's basically like your old money, like your Cremorne Mossmans of Sydney, like your probably Chirac, your Malvern, your Kooyong and Melbourne. For people from Perth, it's the equivalent of probably being like Peppermint Grove, Mossman Park, probably that kind of area. Claremont, that it's the equivalent of those sorts of suburbs. But it's like literally, even if you look to the sort of more cheaper side, Windsor's like 1.5 million. So you're even getting like a 15% discount on the cheaper side, but you're getting about 80% discount on the expensive side. So it's crazy just the numbers Albion has in terms of, what it's going to have. And if you look at the future, the Albion Exchange and the forum that's going to come in, it's just going to be incredible. So for that price, I don't think you'll find much better in Brisbane than that. Let's get it under 1.5 million. I've mentioned this a lot, but the suburb is Newmarket, and Newmarket's an inner north suburb of Brisbane CBD. Really, again, I've mentioned the inner east and inner north. Newmarket is an absolute perfect example of an inner north suburb that will do very well long term. On a train line, very easy to get into any good schools, right near the university as well, close to all the good jobs. You can't go wrong here. Look where it is. It's literally like surrounded by really good schools, surrounded by the city, surrounded by the Hurston Medical Precinct. Like, what can go wrong with Newmarket? Barely any Newmarket floods either as well. So really good, very high median income. Like, Grange right next to it is significantly more expensive, and it's actually further from the city. Yet I'd argue Newmarket has a better long-term growth prospect than probably Grange. But anyway, that's Newmarket. Let's go under $1.75 million, and that suburb I'm going to mention is Dutton Park. Look, Dutton Park is surprisingly cheap because it's about 3 Ks or so to 4 Ks from the CBD. It's in the inner south of Brisbane, and it's actually like a suburb that, will be key, especially in these Olympic Games. It's mostly low density, as I've mentioned before, but look, this suburb really, it's walking distance to Woolloongabba, but it's right by South Bank, South Brisbane, the CBD, and the Woolloongabba district, but it's actually like super low density, and it's amongst a very wealthy pocket. So it neighbours Highgate Hill, which is historically quite a wealthy suburb, and West End as well. I know it used to be a bit derelict, but you got some quite expensive waterfront properties there actually in West End that are like $6+ million. And Dutton Park is like 1.75, and you get properties like this on the hill, all in low density, that have all these planning restrictions on them, that also will be low density in the future, that have very strong wealth in amongst them and continue to go up. It's very tightly held as well. So Dutton Park is going to be a very good suburb under 1.75 million. I've actually seen them even around 1.5 million, believe it or not. So, if you want a very good suburb to live in, walk to the Olympic Games in 2032, that's a good family suburb that is in the Brisbane high zone, this is the suburb for you 100%. Let's go under 2 million. It's like crazy, like 2 million is expensive for Brisbane, mind you, because there's not many suburbs that are actually above that. But a suburb that's good to buy in under 2 mil is a suburb called Bulimba. Look, Bulimba's straight across the water from Hamilton and New Farm. And you're still picking them up, genuinely good, like 4-bedroom houses, genuine family dwellings for under 2 mil. I've even seen some for like 1.6, 1.7, believe it or not. But your 2 mil, you're getting a very good dwelling. And the thing about Bulimba is it's a beautiful pocket, but it's also just a pocket where it's like one of the best riverfront locations in all of Brisbane. The thing about Bulimba is some of it does flood, don't get me wrong, but because of the way the river bends, not much of it does, because the outflows actually generally go over to Hamilton. They actually generally go over the road on Hamilton and not actually over much of Bulimba because of how it's shaped, the river, and where the outflow goes. So the other thing about Bulimba too actually is that you actually get quite good rental yield. So there's most dwellings in Bulimba, you actually get about 3.5% yield. And this suburb's done like 9.5 to 10% capital growth long term. So you may even find like properties that you get 14% long term return, or should I say immediate return on, just simply because of the location they're in and how they are and the price guide you get them for. It's just incredible. And you can't go wrong in this location. Such a good suburb suburb to buy in. Look, again, I'm going in at any budget for Brisbane, and when I say any budget, there's not many that are above 2.5 million or so, but the suburb I'm going to mention is New Farm. Look, New Farm is, I'm telling you right now, I think it's Brisbane's best suburb for sure. I don't think there's any debating that. It's right by the CBD. Not much of it floods. A very little part of it by the park does flood, but you got waterfronts there as well. You got, a great village there, a lot of low density too. Most people walk to the CBD, just catch a 5-minute bus ride to work, even if they work let's say in Hendra or Fortitude Valley. A lot of people who live in the northern end of Newmarket actually walk to work, believe it or not. The ones who work in Kangaroo Point, South Bank, Wollongabba, South Brisbane area, a lot of them will just catch a short bus as well. But it's probably Brisbane's best suburb. No one will debate that. And even if you look on Domain here, why even the pickiest buyers call this suburb home? That's just something I'll say to people. Look, it is easily Brisbane's best suburb. It's done like 10% nearly long term, and you can still find properties that get you nearly 3.5% yield, generally 3 to 3.5%. But if you're good, you can generally get sort of 3.3 to 3.5% yield. But you're not going wrong here at all, especially if you don't mind doing little reno. You can pick them up quite cheap and make a lot of money in New Farm. So great suburb to consider if you've got any budget in Brisbane. Look, $2.5 to $3 million generally does it, but I've found some even closer to that too, even late ones sometimes, if you want to do some work. But anyway, we're getting to the end of this video. So look, again, I just want to thank everyone for watching this video. Look, if you really like what I do, please subscribe to the channel and please reach out if you need any help. I don't mind doing free consults. I have a link in my website, www.compoundinvest.com.au, that will allow you to do that. But again, I appreciate everyone watching. Thanks again, guys. I'll see you in the next one.